Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. Quick info before we begin. Yesterday's story about the catfishing neighbor generated a big debate about believing in quote-unquote irrefutable proof that someone is cheating. And at the end of the video today, I want to show you all something about this proof and why it's dangerous to take it at face value without digging further or getting a confession from the supposed cheater, like I assumed the OP from that story did. Now let's get started with today's title story. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user JacquesBN. Am I the a-hole for not giving my daughter her education fund money? I, 54 male, have 2 children, 23 female and 21 male, with my wife, 52 female. When the kids were young, my parents set up education funds for both of them, which was very generous of them. My wife and I always expected our kids to attend college and then graduate school, as we have done. I have a PhD, my wife has a master's. Because of this, we decided not to use the funds for our kids' undergrad degrees and did not tell them about the money. My daughter has always been more into the liberal arts, while my son is more of a STEM guy. My wife and I worried about her ability to find a job, but she insisted on studying music and film in college. She was accepted to some top schools and chose to attend a rather expensive one. But she had a scholarship to cover almost all of her tuition. Everything else, plus living expenses, was her responsibility. She lived in a very small apartment shared with friends in a not so nice area far from campus. But she was fine and learned how to budget effectively. After graduating, she luckily found a job that doesn't pay extremely well, but she enjoys and scrapped the idea of grad school. My son decided to do engineering and he also expressed that he had no interest in grad school. My wife and I were disappointed but accepted it since at this point he is already all set up with a very good job when he completes school. Since he did not receive as many scholarships as his sister, we decided to use his education fund to cover his tuition and living expenses. He was able to get a large and nice apartment of his own close to the school, which is important since his classes are so demanding and he needs a comfortable space to work. My daughter was confused and asked how he could afford this, and he told her about the education fund. She called us and asked why she didn't have one, and we told her she did. We just didn't use it because we hoped she would attend grad school. She seemed hurt by this and asked if there was any way she could have the money now. We explained that there would be a fee to simply withdraw the money for non-education uses, and if we choose to do that, it would belong to her grandparents, so they could put it towards their own house. She's been quiet and short when answering our texts and hasn't answered our calls at all since then. I know that it seems unfair to her, but it's not really her money in the first place and she's no longer in college. Plus, her brother only received it for educational purposes, and it wouldn't be right for her to just have it to spend now. Am I the a-hole? Oof, where to begin? Well, the short answer, OP, is that yeah, you and your wife are most definitely the a-holes in this whole situation. And in my opinion, the main reason as to why you guys are a-holes is because you decided to earmark that money exclusively for grad school education. I'm pretty sure you and your wife must be super proud of your PhD and master's, and this is not just because you mentioned it right off the bat on the post, but also because you were trying to force your kids to become mini-yous in some sense. And I guess this whole thing comes down to parenting style. It sounds like your style is our way or the highway. I personally have a different approach. I'm more of a personal responsibility kind of person. You know, like Uncle Ben or Aunt May said, with great power comes great responsibility. And the way that I see it is that as adults, we all have the power to make decisions for our own life. However, we must accept the ramifications of it and they are our responsibility. And our jobs as parents is to get our kids to become those adults that can make decisions and take the responsibility. And yeah, one way to get there is with an education, but does it have to have some grad school education? I don't think so, because that's their choice. If you really wanted to be fair, you wouldn't have given your son the money either. But I guess because he mentioned he didn't want to do grad school, you said, well, let's help him out now. I guess your daughter just had really bad timing to not tell you guys that she didn't want to pursue grad school sooner. And yeah, that was me being sarcastic because I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have given her a penny to study liberal arts because it doesn't fit what you wanted for her. And now at this point, I'm just ranting. So I'm gonna cut my commentary here. OP, you and your wife are definitely a-holes. If you wanna fix this, you would give your daughter the money, regardless of what she wants to use it for. And if it has a fee, well, it has to be paid with that money as well, right? Anyways, sorry for the long commentary. What do you guys think about this whole situation? What is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section. And now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. He Who Is Right says, do you know why all that you did seems unfair to your daughter? Because it is unfair to your daughter. You had the ability to use the funds to cover her living expenses during her undergraduate. This, of course, is a bit bizarre. Are you a trustee of a trust, or did the grandparents set up a 529 plan and give you full control over it? Yet, you did not even tell your daughter about these funds. Talk about a faithless trustee. At this point, you need to grovel. You need to apologize for substituting your judgment as to the best way to use these funds for your daughter's judgment. You need to make amends. Then, you need to circle back and see what the terms of your parents' bequest were. And honestly, I'd get an attorney to do this for you, as you've already demonstrated your judgment is beyond suspect. Most trusts have provisions for disbursement of the corpus if the purposes cannot be fulfilled. I doubt honestly though that your parents meant for their gift to be returned to them in the event that their grandkids didn't go to college, or in the event that they didn't need the money for college. And don't get me started on favoritism. You used the funds for your son to enjoy a cushy life during his undergraduate studies, but didn't do the same for your little girl? Really? Seriously? In case there was any doubt, you're the a-hole truly and completely. Napalm Ashalotl says, you're the a-hole. I assumed this would be the classic, my kids didn't go to college and won their college fund, but it isn't even. Neither child went to grad school, but you decided to give money to one but not the other. So it's not even about grad school like you pretended. You basically decided your daughter's goals didn't meet your approval, so you didn't give her the money that had been set aside for her. Pretend Peach 3248 says, you're the a-hole. You paid for your son's living expenses out of the fund, but not your daughter's when they made the same decisions. Yet your daughter achieved scholarships and your son didn't. So you make her effectively struggle and have to pay for herself. Whereas your son didn't achieve those scholarships, nor covered his own expenses, nor had to live in a lower standard because you favored him and allowed him to fund. I wouldn't want to talk to you both either after making me work harder than my brother when the funds were there to make a difficult time easier. What do their grandparents think about how you've treated them? Additional information from OP's comments. We did not tell her about the fund. She found out from her brother after she had graduated. And when she asked us why she didn't have one, we admitted that she did. She and her brother unfortunately aren't close, so we didn't expect this to happen. Now, our son would never flaunt his money to anyone. He's always been very kind and respectful. As I said, he and his sister simply aren't close and never have been. As far as I'm aware, there are no bad feelings from him towards his sister or anyone for that matter. He simply answered her questions when she asked him about his living situation. Also, I should mention that until she moved out, she was not very disciplined or responsible with money. The money is still in the account, which belongs to my parents. They knew and agreed with us wanting to use the funds for our children's grad school. Now, if my daughter changes her mind and continues her education, the money should go towards that. If not, then my parents will withdraw it and spend it as they wish. However, I understand how it might have been wrong for us to keep the money a secret. We didn't want our children to take their college opportunities for granted if they knew their expenses would all be covered. My wife and I really wanted both of our kids to continue schooling beyond a bachelor's degree, but after our daughter decided not to, we realized it might be a good idea to let our son use his. No, it isn't fair that he got the money and she didn't. But in high school, she expressed a desire to pursue a Master of Fine Arts or PhD, and then changed her mind in college. I hadn't considered that she would have done any different had she known about the fund, but it's possible. She doesn't intend to ever have children of her own, which is a whole other fight between her and her mother, but she's mentioned that she might want to go back to school anyway. It'll be there for when she does. I do appreciate the arts and I admire that she took an interest in them. We were concerned mainly about her ability to find a stable job that paid well. It's no secret that some artists tend to struggle more financially even after getting a degree. My wife wanted to pursue a career in the arts when she was younger, but her family grew up without a lot of money and her parents encouraged her to do something more practical. She kept her other interests as a hobby, which worked well for her. We felt that that would be a good compromise for our daughter as well, but she's always been very stubborn and insisted on majoring in what she wanted despite being a very well-rounded student in all of her other classes. I would never call her decision stupid, and I don't think she ever felt that I thought that. Alright, well, the community absolutely agrees that OP is the a-hole and his wife is as well. And we got some additional context from OP in which he tries to validate his own decision, and we also get a glimpse as to the relationship that they have with their daughter. Anyways, now it's time for us to move on to the update in which I've curated the final update into, but before that, of course, here's another playlist. I'm sure you'll enjoy it after this video. Now let's move on with the update. I understand the consensus is that my wife and I are the a-holes. I texted my daughter to ask if she wanted us to withdraw the money for her or for whatever she wanted to do, and this was her response. I don't care, maybe they can transfer it to other grandkid who is 5, if the fee is seriously too much. I don't know about grad school, I haven't thought about it much recently. If I do apply, it wouldn't be for another couple of years, and I hadn't been counting on having any financial help in the first place, so it really doesn't even matter. Thanks for asking though. My wife and I are discussing our daughter's response and our next actions to resolve this situation. For context, my wife has always had a strained relationship with my daughter and did not approve of many of her life choices. She believes we should take our daughter's words at face value and assume she no longer wants the money. From some of the responses in our post, I fear that my daughter's response was out of resentment, and I suggested taking out as much money as her brother was given so that at least they receive the same amount. She could use it possibly towards rent, groceries, transportation, etc. or in some other way to further her career, so it will still be for educational purposes in a sense. My wife is standing firm in her opinion, but we will continue talking it through. The big issue is that my wife and our daughter have always had a strained relationship, as I've stated, which I've tried to stay out of for the most part. Coward. And I admit I wasn't the most emotionally attentive father. I was, and still am, working full-time, and my wife made most of the calls when it came to bringing up our kids. Her reasons for not wanting to tell them about the funds made sense to me, so I agreed with her decision. My daughter is very smart, and although I know my wife doesn't feel that she is successful, I trusted that she would learn some invaluable lessons by working hard through college, which she did. There isn't much I can do in regard to our relationship when she was younger. My daughter already has sought out therapy on her own and, to my knowledge, is still attending sessions now. My wife does not have any interest in any sort of counseling. My wife, my son, and I are all religious, and my daughter left the faith when she moved out, which caused a big argument. There were other smaller issues relating to how she identifies, appearance choices, partners, etc. We generally don't bring up these topics because there is no agreement that we can really come to. It's just differences in basic values and principles. I still accept that our daughter is her own person and she can do what she wants within reason. And for context, I am white and American, and my wife is Korean and grew up in Korea. We are all Catholic with the exception of my daughter. Many have asked about where my parents stand on this. At this point, they are not mentally aware enough to really participate in the discussion. As I said in the comments, they did know about our grad school stipulation and thought it was fine. They also knew that we took out some money for our son once we were certain he was not pursuing an advanced degree, and were fine with that as well. They said it was our decision as parents what to do with our daughter's fund, and they would support whatever we decided for her. It wouldn't be useful to ask them what to do with it now, but I have always said that whatever is unused will go back into their care. Final update. I just wanted to give a final update on the situation. As of right now, we are not planning to do anything with the money in the fund. I have tried to call my daughter with no luck, so I sent my daughter another text apologizing for not telling her about it, and she thumbs up reacted to the message. Despite what many have said here, I hope this does not end our relationship. My wife and I have both agreed to wait a few years before looking into having it transferred to her cousin, as she herself suggested, in case our daughter decides that she wants it. We agreed years ago that we would not be contributing to either of our children buying homes, so our daughter would be free to use the money for other living expenses. We do not plan to give her any more than what her brother received. He has not participated in this discussion at all. He is currently very busy, and we see no need to involve him in an unnecessary family drama that doesn't even directly concern him. Thanks everyone for your comments and feedback. Wow. Well, people, here's the learning from this story. This is how you effectively nurture an estranged relationship with one of your children. So I guess, OP, here's wishing you and your wife stop being a-holes about your daughter's decisions at some point in your life. All the best to your daughter and her future. Thanks for sharing, OP. Now, let's move on to a mood booster post, and then I'll take you to the surprise ending of this video. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user Mochesa. No abbreviations whatsoever? Okay, no problem. Recently, my quality assurance has handed down a new policy that we are not to use any abbreviations in our call notes whatsoever. Shorthand is not permitted. I work in a call center taking information for admissions of new medical clients, so the people reading my charts and notes will be medical professionals. The only abbreviations used are those commonly known in the practice, such as IOP, Intensive Outpatient, ASAP, who doesn't know this, etc. Come on now. So I have adopted their rule to the letter. I wrote every single thing out that would typically be abbreviated. Sometimes the notes require that times be recorded. Example, I set the callback expectation for 10 a.m. In my most recent scoring, I was marked off for using spelling errors in notes. When I requested a review of my score, my supervisor advised me that writing ante meridiem was what caused me to lose points. I kindly cited the new rule that requires no abbreviations to be used. My supervisor stated that he had never heard the term ante meridiem before. I explained what it meant, being the long form of the term AM. My score was amended to reflect no error was made. Well, OP, as you said, you adopted their rule to the letter and actually schooled them a little bit. And now let's finish this video with what I wanted to show you regarding these screenshots with irrefutable proof and why it's dangerous to take them at face value. This is what I wanted to show you guys regarding this irrefutable proof that you might get as a screenshot. And also, this is what scammers use to trick people into giving them money using this gift card thing. There are other videos on YouTube regarding that, but this is it. What they use is something that's called the D.O.M, or the Document Object Model, which is something you cannot see unless you use the developer tools on any browser. And I'll just give you one example of it and then we can move on to maybe another one. Here is this comment made by Hi Stranger. Hey Stranger, I hope you don't mind me using your comment for this demonstration. Check this out. It says here, Story 2. I read this before, I hope the ex-husband can sue the neighbor though. Alright, so if you go here and you do inspect, we see the document object model right here on that right hand side. Now check this out. How about if I change this and I say Lost Genre is the most, well, not, it doesn't be all capitalized, is the greatest, because I have a small ego, YouTuber, Reddit YouTuber ever to have walked on this earth. I know that sounds like very narcissistic, but it's just for fun. Wow, that's their comment. And now here we go. I mean, I could just screenshot this. Boom. And we have a screenshot that says exactly that. With the same font in the, within the comment. And here's the thing. I didn't actually change the comment. What I just did was just change the text from that comment. And I can do this with Facebook messages. I can do this with tweets. I can do this with everything. And you guys can too. And this is me just knowing a little bit, because other experts can change colors and change everything. The D.O.M allows you to manipulate a website in order for developers to then know how they want to code it to improve something or other. But here's the thing. If you refresh it, then, hold on, let me put this on mute. Then that comment, oh, come on. There, scroll. Let's go back to Hi Stranger's comment. Here, it didn't really change because I'm not changing the database. I'm not changing the value in the database. I'm just doing that here. Now, this arrow right here, this little button right here, would allow you to target whatever you want. Let's do another short example. This is my personal Facebook account, so of course I've blurred some of the images. But just so you guys see, I was talking to Facebook about something I needed for the page, and they were doing this kind of follow-up feedback or something. But check this out. If I go over here and I select this message right here, I open it up and here it is. And I say, Lost Genre, your page is awesome and deserves much more distribution. Huh. And then I can just put on this one, I can say something like, by the way, I cheated on my wife or husband with my catfishing neighbor. Boom. And then I could actually even change my response. If I just go like this and click there and I go, no way, this is irrefutable proof. I must take a screenshot and send it to your wife or husband so that they can get rid of you. And yes, that's how I sound when I'm sarcastic, like a stupid robot. There you go. So guys, be careful. This is why I was worried that OP skimmed on a lot of content on her post, because apparently she just took the screenshot and that Tinder profile and ran with it. Didn't give her husband a chance to explain, didn't pursue this matter further. She took it at face value and nuked her marriage. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show you guys. It's called the D.O.M, the Document Object Model, and anybody with a little bit of knowledge can do this. That plus some really good Photoshop skills, and you can do a lot more. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.